Sandy Jen, one of the co-founders of Meebo, and primarily responsible for most of the server engineering part of Meebo.
Right. So tell us how you've scaled Meebo. I mean, I look at what you guys do, and I look at how many times people like Twitter go down, and then just kind of wonder how you guys stay up. So what's the secret there?
I think it's a lot of little things that you do, and it's not necessarily one big secret. One thing that we try to do is run at sort of 50 to 60% scalability ceiling. So you're never going over half your capacity, just in case there's a huge day or something, you're still okay. One thing is just like the panel I was on, one of the questions was, how much of it is architecture, how much of it is throwing servers at the problem? And again, there's sort of a natural balance, because throwing servers is expensive but fast, and architecture is free but it's slow. And so what we try to do is kind of keep one or two tricks up our sleeves, so that in case you really hit that ceiling, you have something to deploy. But when you're really sort of desperate and scrambling, you just kind of have to throw some money at the problem.
Okay. So what are those tricks you've done, used to kind of build Meebo? Like, can you take us through the whole, what Meebo architecture looks like?
Sure. So initially it was, okay, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. Basically, don't rebuild everything from scratch. So try to use as many open source components as you can. Initially, we used Apache for our web server. We used, sort of CGIs, as sort of the way that you communicate with the web server from the browser, and sort of homegrown JavaScript. Because when we launched, there were toolkits out there, but they weren't very developed, and so we kind of had to do it from scratch there. As we kind of launched the service, it turns out that certain things don't scale. So, and then I forgot to mention that our backend process was based on the open source project GigaOM, which is now known as Pigeon. Initially, the web server didn't scale very well. So Apache is it's sort of an industry standard, but it's very much tailored to heavy processes. And for Meebo, we're using it as a very lightweight sort of message passer. It's sort of before Comet was coined, using Comet, you're basically just passing messages back and forth, very, very lightweight. And we switched to using LightTBD, which is it's a single-threaded, web server written mostly by a guy in Germany who works for MySQL, and it's written in C, and so it's very optimizable. And so we switched over to LightTBD, and it was awesome. It just worked great. The next step was trying to figure out, okay, now that the web server is scalable, the CGIs are taking up a lot of processing time, because all CGI, forking the process, sort of the overhead of all that, sort of outweighed the gain of just sort of trying to get the message through. And so we tried to eliminate a lot of that sort of overhead by building a module directly into the web server, and that worked out great.